Right, hello everybody, welcome to another video. So here today with this E46 BMW convertible, as you can see, and this video here today is not so much like a step-by-step how-to like some of my other videos are. It's more like a tip/warning video, if you like, because this car we picked up as a bit of a project. It's got, like, you know, a few bits and pieces need doing to it. The first thing was that this driver's side window was smashed, so obviously to get the car nice and weathertight, you know, that was the first job that needed doing. And actually this piece of glass that you see here is not the first piece of glass, replacement glass. It's actually the second piece of replacement glass, with the first one I end up smashing it as you know, just after I put it in. So in this video really I want to sort of just to give you a bit of like you know, some tips, warning, whatever you want to call it, so that if you're tackling this job yourself, you know, you hopefully don't make the mistakes that I did. Right, so I'm just going to briefly explain how the scenario under which the previous glass smashed. So I'd basically just finished putting it in, and I was messing around with the adjustments, and my girlfriend called me from inside. So I left the door like shut like this, went inside, half an hour, came back out to the car. As I was walking up to the car, it literally just smashed in right before my very eyes by itself. You know, like really bizarre. Nothing like that has ever happened to me in all the years I've been messing around with cars. You know, just really kind of left me speechless, breathless, whatever you want to call it. I just could not believe it. But that's how it just ended up smashing. But I think there's two reasons why, you know, the glass was obviously stressed out enough to kind of be in a situation where it was close to smashing, and then, you know, for whatever reason, maybe change in temperature or whatever, at that point it just went. But so I think the first thing I'd done wrong is that the clips sort of at the bottom, you know, there's a clip there and a clip there, basically, where the glass fixes into the regulator. Obviously I think that I'd over tightened those. So my first warning dash tip to anybody sort of like thinking of doing this job themselves is do not over tighten those clips. So really I'd kind of put quite a bit of effort into it with like a little kind of like half-sized wrench. I mean, not like, you know, I'd given them like a good sort of like tug round. I think that was too tight. When I did it the second time round, I did it sort of pretty much like as if I was using a screwdriver, and kind of like gave it like a good snug up, but like applying the same kind of effort you would to a screwdriver rather than a wrench. So that would be my first tip, like don't over tighten those clips. And then the second sort of tip warning is to do with the adjustment, because these windows have sort of three lots of adjustments. One is like, you know, backwards, forwards, to get sort of like, you know, this dimension here correct. Another one is up and down here, and up separately up and down here. And then, you know, a third or fourth one, however, you know, whichever way you want to look at it, is the amount of tilt here. Yeah. So basically what I'd done is, like, I put the new glass in, and I checked this, you know, I made sure that I adjusted the backwards and forwards to make sure, you know, that was correct. And then I sort of came and sort of looked over here, and this bit was sticking out. And I thought, well, okay, that's where I need to do the tilt adjustment. So I kind of like came here, and I'll talk about how that tilt adjustment works in a minute, but I came here and did the tilt adjustment, and I absolutely maxed it out, but it was still kind of like a little bit out. And it was, you know, when I was in the process of messing around with that, then I kind of went inside and I came back and the glass was smashed. But the mistake I'd made with the adjustment is because I'd forgotten about the up down and the up down here, and the reason this was like sticking out wasn't mainly due to like the tilt adjustment here. It was due to the fact that this part of the window was too far up. What I should have done was lower this part of the window, because what you find is that when you lower this part of the window, it has the effect of pulling this part in. So what I should have done, the correct adjustment procedure, which I did on this one, and now this is working absolutely perfectly. The up, down, and everything, you know, as you shut it, all works fine. I think you know, from my mistakes and from my research, I think the correct way to have done it would be to get this sort of like dimension here correct, then get the up down adjustment here and here, so that all this area is kind of making contact at the same time, and then finally do the tilt adjustment here. And just a quick note, when you're doing the tilt adjustment here, the correct tilt adjustment is what they call like pre-tension on that glass. So basically you might think, like, if you're doing it for the first time, you might think that the correct tilt adjustment is so that this is parallel all the way along, but actually it's not. What you've got to do is when you push the door shut and like leave it like that, just on the latch like that, so there's a gap there, and with the window down, the top of it should actually just be making contact when the rest of the door is open. That's what they call pre-tension, so that's the correct way you have to do it for the window to work properly. So what I'm going to do now is just sort of like talk a little bit more about how this tilt adjuster here works. Right, guys, so I just want to try and present a bit more information here that I think might be useful if if you're trying to do this job. So here's a representation of the glass, and it's held onto the regulator by, as I mentioned, a clip at the front and a clip at the back. The simple adjustments, so I suppose the back and forward adjustment is very intuitive. You just kind of loosen off the clips, like using the main clip fastener or whatever you want to call it. They're represented here by these bigger bits, and you just slide the glass backwards and forwards. The up and down, again, sort of fairly intuitive. There's a sort of separate adjuster next to the main sort of clip securing nuts. That's sort of fairly clear, and you turn that to make it go up and down. The more complicated part of the adjustment is this sort of like, in this diagram, this represents the glass, by the way, this bit here. It's not a fantastic diagram, I know. So the more complicated adjustment is this adjustment, which controls, this, I'm referring to as the tilt of the window at the top. Now, the way that works is here we're looking at this clip at the back, but sort of sideways on. And as you can see, there's this kind of like wedge kind of thing, which I've represented here, highlighted in green. So this black bit in the middle represents, the securing screw for the clip. But then sort of outside of that, there's actually sort of something else that you can turn. So you have to sort of kind of loosen that first. Then there's like something else outside of that you can turn. And that's sort of actually kind of like a nut type mechanism that's sort of mounted eccentrically, as I've tried to represent here. So this is this same thing, but kind of like this is the clip, but looking at it from like this way, if you see what I mean. And as you can imagine, as this is turned, it pulls this kind of wedge a bit up and down. So, and as the wedge is pulled up, the window kind of moves in that way. As it's turned down, the window moves that way. So I'm not going to try and get into exactly sort of how you manipulate these two. I think so. It's just, if you're trying the job, it's just going to be a matter of like trying to look at it and kind of figure it out from what you see there. But essentially, I think this is the principles of how it works, and I hope there's some helpful information here. Just a few more notes. You can actually access these adjusters from either inside or outside the car. Here I've represented this as the outside of the door. And if you take this like body side moulding off here with the glass in the right place, you can actually access these adjusters from behind the hole, from corresponding holes in the correct places behind this body side moulding. I actually didn't use that way of doing it because I already had the inside trim off. I did it all from the inside. But for example, on this wedge adjustment, so the way I did it, if you're doing it from the outside, there's either like a special like BMW tool that enables you to kind of loosen that, then hold it in place whilst you manipulate the outside bit, or you could fashion some tools of your own to do it as well. I think it's not that complicated. If you're trying the job, you have a look. I think you'll figure it out for yourself. I actually did it from the inside because I already had the trim off. And the way I did it was I actually sort of like took this out completely, and then once you've done that, you can actually use an Allen key to access this, to turn this out a bit. But obviously you have to be sort of careful to make sure it doesn't all fall out, and then sort of once you think you've got it in the right place, gently put this black bit back on. One final thing I'd say is like for loosening and tightening these clips, if you're accessing it from outside the car through that from the holes behind that trim panel, it's actually sort of, right to tighten, left to loosen, as you would expect. But if you're accessing it from inside the car, then because this is all one bolt, it's actually the other way around. So you go right to loosen, then left to tighten. So I don't know how helpful this is all going to be. I hope it is. It's kind of difficult to explain. I've actually looked in the Haynes manual, for example, and there it doesn't even try to explain it. It says it's too complicated. Take it to a BMW dealer. And I suppose, bearing in mind that I smashed the first bit of glass I was trying to put in there, you could argue that's good advice. I don't know, but obviously, as these cars get older, you can't really afford to take them to BMW dealers, because it's obviously, for certain jobs that, it can write the car off, can't it? So I'm trying to sort of like present information here that I hope you will find helpful, that I think I would have found helpful if I had it available to me when I was tackling the job. So I hope it helps. Okay, so don't know how well this is going to come out on camera, but just want to show you that it is now working correctly. So if I open the door now, hopefully you saw that nudge down on the power windows thing, and if I now shut it, you can see that it goes back up. So anyway, so this video is a bit long, and it is me sort of babbling on a little bit. So but I hope the information here is useful. I think it will be to anybody sort of tackling a job like this, or this job I should say. I hope it is anyway. So anyway, thanks for watching. Bye.